Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootleggers, shills, desolators, peasants, vassals. I'm Useful Idiot, and today I want to talk about the fact that last month, the United States military announced that it would be going into 35 countries in Africa in the new year. And I found this rather shocking, even in light of the fact that I did a video on AFRICOM, about the creation of AFRICOM and a Central American U.S. military command to cover the continent of Africa, with the creation of a Africa-centric force that's based out of Germany. And I've also brought up videos about a coming UN intervention in Mali that apparently is going to happen in September, later this year. And we have U.S. forces involved in countries all over Africa, as we've already talked about. But this confirms that these moves into Africa are happening on an exponential rate, even surprising me how fast this is all happening. So the announcement is that the 2nd Brigade, the 1st Infantry, a U.S. Army brigade, will begin sending small teams into as many as 35 African nations early this year for training and to start developing a U.S. presence and an ability to interact with all the local forces. Says the teams will be limited to training and equipping efforts and will not be permitted to conduct military operations without specific additional approvals from the Secretary of Defense. And of course, we know what that means. It means they will be conducting military operations, and to say that they won't happen without specific additional approvals from the Secretary of Defense is laughable. But some of the countries, of course, are ones we're already in: Libya, Sudan, Algeria, Niger, Chad, Kenya, Uganda, Niger, Nigeria, Somalia. And so we're all of those countries, but that hardly scratches the surface if we're going into 35 African nations early this year. So I'll have to look up just exactly how many nations there are in Africa, because it seems like a pretty large number of them. And of course, this military operation in the U.S. will also be extending drone coverage to all of these nations too. So there's another pickup in the planet of drones and the application of drone technology. So here we go again with this new military paradigm of the future of special forces, training native armies, and drone culture. And all of these topics I've done previous videos on, because this is the new strategy for the future of geopolitics and warfare. And so we better get used to this. And it's going to be a world of automated drones, robots, special forces, mercenaries, and training native armies. And once again, I recommend a video that not too many people watch called Pentagonism, and it discusses this whole move in that direction of not so much occupations anymore as training native armies and taking over economies. So anyway, to get back to the story, so General Rodriguez stated that, quote, if they want them for military operations, the brigade is our first sourcing solution because they are prepared, unquote. So they're looking for active forces that will be ready to be deployed should they be required militarily pretty much anywhere in Africa. So this is a huge development. It's only taken AFRICOM was only created in 2007, and here we have 5 to 6 years later, this U.S. military moving into 35 countries in the new year, and that's not including the countries we're already in. So let's pretty much say that we're in all of Africa now, and the plans are for 100 different exercises and training missions across Africa in this new year, and using a total of 3,500 total U.S. troops. So there's a big picture in Africa. It's getting very complicated. I saw another story about how we have U.S. troops going into Chad now, and this buildup in Mali continues. We're going to see more and more propaganda pieces about Mali, and more of the same kind of propaganda we've seen everywhere else. Libya, Syria, they use the same blueprint. So now they're talking about Mali as if it's an Al-Qaeda super fortress with tunnels and fortresses and stored fuel and, of course, lots of weapons that they got from Libya, and taking over government stockpiles of Russian weapons that are and they're even suggesting that they have Russian surface-to-air missiles, and then, of course, they're destroying ancient culture. They're instigating Sharia law. And most importantly, they have ideas about global domination and launching their worldwide jihad from Mali. Although most things, most details seem to point to the fact that it's just another Islamic separatist movement. And certainly there's jihadis there, but of course, any nature of jihadis all across that region who have different agendas, and certainly global domination isn't always part of that quotient. And even the government that we're supporting in Mali has a long record of human rights violations and overthrew a democratically elected government. So we're supporting a military dictatorship to go after terrorists. So we find that dynamic yet again as we're in Africa. So anyway, they're also preparing for a long intervention that'll probably have to be amped up considerably once we're in there, because the terrain is really quite tough in northern Mali, and we could see another Afghanistan if we end up with U.S. troops on the ground in Mali. But anyway, so there's a heads up. AFRICOM is expanding rapidly. In 5 years, we are going to be in most of continental Africa with U.S. military troops doing special forces operations, hiring mercenaries for special forces operations, assisting native armies, equipping and training native armies, and creating interventions all across Africa. And, of course, most importantly, selling them arms. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.